Hello and welcome to Don't Feed the Geeks, presented by the Long Island Comic Guys, the masters of the geeky-verse. We have a full house today for the first time in a long time. I am TC, joined by Toy Story.
Hello, hello.
JJ.
Yo.
Dungeon Master.
Greetings.
And Bojo.
Hello there.
All right, we have a fun episode today. We're gonna have a little geek debate.
Nice.
Some fun topics that we thought would be hot topic items. Very good for a debate.
Yeah, stuff that we regularly yell about on Wednesday.
Yeah, stuff we know that we fall on opposite sides of too, to make it entertaining. But we're gonna start with the geek beat, like always. Share a little news, and Mr. Toy Story, you want to take it away there?
Definitely. All right, so as we're recording this, actually, Apple today announced their brand new streaming service, like the 13th one on the market at this point. So it's going to focus heavily on original content, and it's only going to be $5 a month, and you even get the first year free if you buy a new Apple product.
Are we going to talk about this? Do we care? Because really, what do they have? What are they going to bring to the table? Did they mention what shows they're going to bring?
They haven't said if they're going to have anything, any like syndicated shows or anything from other networks. But
I mean,
they're focused. Sorry, what?
Unless they're stealing shows from Netflix, Disney, which they're not going to happen, or Hulu. What are they going to bring to the table?
They're focusing heavy on original stuff. So they're saying like at this point 1 or 2 new original shows per month. And one of them is actually, I don't know if you guys saw it, it's a show called C, starring Jason Momoa. It's very Game of Thronesy. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that this is going to be a replacement for anything else, but it's something that people, if they want to see these shows, they could do it for relatively cheap, because that's the cheapest price on the market for a streaming service.
Yeah, that's a wait and see what they're going to bring out.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Nobody's interested.
I don't know if we can.
Not really.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of us are already paying for a lot of the other streaming services. I'm not going to add this one to my.
Some people already locked in for 3 years with Disney Plus.
Yes, they did.
Yes, we did.
Nope.
That's your problem.
We got
Not my problem at all. I get to do a month, take a month off, do a month, take 2 months off, take 6 months off if I want. I'm not locked in. It's great.
Listen, that's the way to do it. That's good. Jim, you could get if you buy that watch, you'll get it for a year free anyway.
Well, maybe that's what will happen.
Yeah. All right. So that's another streaming service.
Wait a minute. Does that also count towards phones too?
Yeah. I think if you buy any Apple device now, you'll get a year free.
So with my company, because I'm in charge of all the Verizon wireless phones, if I buy an Apple phone for any of my 29 employees, I can tie all that in.
Maybe.
I'll give them out to you guys.
Wait, that's a really good idea. I'll take you up on that.
All right, move on.
Moving on.
So, one of your bullet points here says Netflix and Disney stocks dropped. Was that actually?
Oh, yes, they did. Like as the keynote was happening, both their stocks dropped like 3% or something.
Because of that news?
Yeah, I guess so.
Why?
Because the pricing.
I'm sure. Okay. I'm sure it's not going to stay that way for long.
No, definitely not. But it's just an immediate reaction to how cheap it is, I guess.
Okay.
I hear it's going to be all the Long Island Comic Guy YouTube videos.
I'll subscribe then.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. So next up, this past weekend at FanX in Salt Lake City, apparently there was a panel, a Star Wars panel that was supposed to happen with Hayden Christensen and Ian McDiarmid, who play Anakin Skywalker and Emperor Palpatine, respectively. And apparently at the very last minute,
I was really hoping you were going to say respectively.
I did.
I was saying I was hoping you did.
Oh. Yeah, so at the very last minute, apparently, as fans were queuing up outside, Disney essentially called them and forced them to shut it down and threatened legal action if they didn't.
Why?
So those are all the facts that's out there. But people are heavily speculating now, of course, as the internet does, that they're trying to hide potential spoilers that might come out about episode 9. which means that people now think that Hayden will make an appearance in it.
Well, they Disney just opened the lid on that one because that pretty much confirms it, I would think.
Yeah, like if I were Disney, that seems like the stupidest thing to do because now that's what everybody thinks is going to happen.
Dumb.
I mean, that or they're just concerned that Ian McDermott can't keep his stuff together. I mean, it might not necessarily be that Hayden's going to be in it, but
I think he was on panels and stuff at like Celebration. No.
Yeah, but that's like stuff that they're controlling, so they can gear the questions the way they want it.
Oh, you're saying because Disney's not involved in this?
Yeah, I think so.
That's possible.
And that's the other thing. Why didn't Disney know about this before the panel? So, I mean, now they should have known about this panel was going to go on weeks in advance. I would think.
Yeah, why at the very last minute?
I mean, that's what they did. They did two things. They opened up a box here, get people speculating, and then ticket sales. I would imagine because that confirms it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be in it. I don't know what you guys think, but
they probably did that deliberately.
Sorry, what's that?
They probably did that deliberately just so they have more speculation going on.
Oh, you think they want speculation?
Yeah, absolutely. They want to get more people excited about it, even though, the fans are already excited, but, I guess they want to just drum it up even more, build the tension to where it can get to, I don't know, like crazy levels.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just hey, it's like, no, you guys can't do this panel, because we're not going to allow it. And then they just have everybody talking about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Disney's not stupid, so they probably know, what they're doing, unless they actually only found out about it last minute.
This is probably the longest conversation about Hayden that Tess has sat through.
Oh, we're going to have more later.
I'm saving my thoughts.
Move on.
All right, moving on. So Christian Nadal was recently interviewed by Variety, I think, on at like some awards show or red carpet or something, and they asked him what he thought about the new Batman casting, Robert Pattinson, and he said all the best to him. I think he's an absolutely fantastic actor and a wonderful choice for Batman. So not really newsworthy, but just interesting that
he's the second tallest Batman.
Yes, he is.
Has it been 100% confirmed that he's going to be the next Batman?
Yeah. So something else recently came out. Pattinson said that he was really mad when that rumor came out, leaked earlier this year, because he thought that was going to cost him the role because he knows how secretive they like to be.
Mm-hmm.
So he thought they were just going to scrap him and go with somebody else to keep the secret, but they ended up staying.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you guys excited for him?
No.
I'm not excited for any DC movie until after I see it.
You'll go see them though?
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to check it out. I mean, unless the trailer looks god awful, I mean, I'll be there. I mean, it's Batman. It's not like they're trying to get me to go see like I don't even know, like some rando character.
Okay.
All right, next up, so Mission Impossible 7 is happening, which I actually didn't even know about until today. And Haley Atwell, who plays Agent Carter, was just casted in an undisclosed
she is.
Undisclosed role, sorry.
It doesn't matter. I hope there's a lot undisclosed.
Oh my god, okay.
She's just wonderful. I enjoy everything she does.
I didn't need a reason to go see Mission Impossible 7 more than the fact that it's just a Mission Impossible 7, but it's a nice added bonus.
Oh, yes, it is.
I haven't seen like the last 3.
You've missed the best ones.
I'm shocked that it's up to 7. I didn't think it was up to 7.
The first one's still the best one.
So is this one?
I am too. I thought they were only up to like 4.
No, they're up to like 6.
When did the last one come out?
Last summer, maybe a little longer than that, maybe 2 summers ago.
That recent?
Yeah.
I think the last one I saw was the first one with Simon Pegg in it.
That was Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah.
No.
He was like the tech guy in the office.
No, that wasn't 3.
No, it was 4.
Maybe 4 or 5 was the last one I saw then.
Yeah.
They keeping like putting numbers in the titles after I think the third one.
Because I saw the one with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and then the one after that I saw, and
so
that was
was
the last
3
one.
and 4, where he climbs the tower in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah,
that was number 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the last one I saw.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna go see it.
Rambo is coming out in days, which is more important than that.
Does it come out this week?
It comes out the 20th. Last Blood.
Damn. Are we going to see that?
It looks awesome. Yeah, I'm going to see it, even if I go by myself.
Yeah, I want to see that.
What's Rambo?
Originally, I was trying to get my mom to go, but then she thought I said something else, and she's like, I don't want to go see that.
We need to mute Zach for the rest of the show. What's Rambo? Shut up.
Kick him off this call.
Okay.
I saw First Blood, and then I saw Rambo 2. I think I missed a movie in there.
You missed a few.
I haven't seen either of them.
No, that was the correct order. It was Rambo. It was First Blood, and then 2.
I know, but I haven't seen them. I saw the one where, like, the most recent one.
Oh, John Rambo?
Either Rambo or John Rambo.
Like, wildly out of context.
Wow.
Yeah, wildly out of context.
All right.
All right, move on.
All right. So next up, JJ actually brought this to our attention today. Apparently, so MCU is obviously looking to introduce Fantastic Four within the next few years, and one of the biggest villains out of that is Galactus. Now, there's a few names floating around for who's going to be cast in that role, and one name floating around is Liam Neeson.
Kind of like to
So
see
Jim,
that.
where the hell did you hear this?
It was on comicbook.com.
Yeah?
Yep.
You can't trust that website.
I don't trust any website, but it was there and it caught my eye because I like Liam Neeson. I know he's had some issues in the last couple months, but I like the way he speaks. So I think his voice with Galactus, I can visualize that.
I could hear that, actually.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see what goes. I don't know who else could play Galactus.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin? What's his Brolin?
Josh Brolin,
He's
a third character.
He's played everything else. So might as well just add him to that.
I can see that.
I just think Galactus should be a cloud.
What's that?
I just think Galactus should be a cloud.
All right. Can you end the call with him, please?
I tried to before. Is that the same thing as that Parallax dude?
Dormammu.
Yeah, they doubled down. Every bad movie has a cloud in it. Every bad comic cloud villain.
That should be
Doctor Strange wasn't bad.
Yeah, that was in spite of the cloud villain.
It's true, but I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited to see who they cast for all of these roles. Honestly,
for the whole Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're going to bring back Surfer too.
I mean, at this point, they should just throw Keanu Reeves' name at that. They've thrown him at every other character
for what?
In the MCU.
For what? For Galactus?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be pretty interesting.
They're probably at the point right now where they have Keanu Reeves. They have Keanu Reeves on contract, and they're just trying to figure out who he's going to play.
My name is Galactus.
Okay.
Too bad they got Hugo Weaving already, huh?
Did he play something already?
Red Skull.
Oh, no. No.
That's a mask. He could play someone different.
True.
All right, moving on.
Moving on.
All right, so our final point. This is a couple weeks old, but we forgot we didn't really mention it. I don't know if any of you guys have watched Breaking Bad back in the day.
Never.
No, anybody?
I watched
saw
the
first season.
Okay. Yes, you all suck. It's really good. But they just announced a movie that's going to be coming out on Netflix called El Camino. That's going to be taking place right after the series ended, and I think it ended like I don't even know how long ago at this point. Years ago, though.
Is this the movie that they were talking about? Like, there's only one movie, right?
Yeah. It's coming out exclusively on Netflix.
Oh, because I thought it was going to hit the theater and then go to Netflix. So
no, Netflix on October 11th.
Interesting.
Yeah, so any Breaking Bad fans should be good. Original writers and directors of the show. So yeah.
So is Walter White in it?
I mean, I think the spoilers have passed on Breaking Bad, so he died at the end of it. So no.
Does he actually die?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, but it's supposed to focus on Jesse.
I thought I saw a scene where I don't know, because I watched in and out. Steph and her sister watched the whole thing, and I guess I just didn't recall that because I did watch the last episode, but I didn't remember. I thought he was in the cabin, but I guess that was after he.
Yeah, it was after that. He fell on the ground, and then it ended with him with that.
Yeah. I think that guy Jesse was awful. I think the show was good when he wasn't on it. You noticed that he made one movie and then he didn't make any more after that?
Need for Speed.
Yeah.
He made that great commercial, though, where he was on the treadmill. That was good.
But they didn't give him lines. Did you notice that?
Nope.
All right.
I mean, I like the world, so I'm going to watch it either way.
Well, maybe they'll bring that guy back as a Force Ghost or something like that.
Yeah, or they retcon it and he's alive, which is likely, I think.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, that's it for news today.
Nice. Good job. Woo!
All right, shall we move on to our main event?
Sure. We've got a lot here, huh?
Yeah, we do. Who wants to start? All right, so basically we have a bunch of debate topics here. So we're going to try and go through each one and give our respective opinions on each. And I think Mr. TC would like to start with the first.
Let's wait for that one. Let's ease into it.
Why do we need to wait on that one? I want to hear this.
We can't start with the best. I mean,
I think that is the best. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, let's say
do something else. Pick something else.
So we got here the best live action Batman.
Are we talking movies, TV shows? What
live action? So TV shows or movies? I would say at least.
Okay.
Yes. But in human form, I can already see Bojo's face, and he wants to throw Kevin Conroy at me.
Well, that's the correct answer.
Well, you said live action. He doesn't count.
Well, he doesn't count.
Crisis on Infinite Earths. Just saying.
Yeah. But he hasn't showed up yet, so.
So TC, you go first, TC.
I think it does get contentious. I think they all have their own spins to it, but I haven't seen somebody do a better job than Michael Keaton at this point. Michael Keaton was a great Bruce Wayne. He was a great Batman. Did he do all of them the best? Like both? Was he the best Bruce Wayne and best Batman? No, but I think he was the best of the balance between the two.
I totally agree.
I agree with you on that one.
Zach, Batman guy.
Bruce?
I can't argue with that. Yeah, I got to go with Michael Keaton.
Well, I got to be the guy that takes the opposite stance. I see how this is.
So no, go ahead. Cause...
I think I know who you're going to say. I think you said this in the Batman episode.
Did I?
Maybe. Go ahead.
Looks-wise, on the screen, Batman.
Who?
I think Affleck killed it.
Affleck for Batman?
Affleck for Batman. I love Bale. I think he's really good. I think Keaton's great. I have nothing against Keaton whatsoever. I think he's great in the first movie. I think Bale is pretty good in the first. Like Batman Begins, he's really good. Dark Knight, he gets a lot to work with within the story, but that's not really his story per se. That's the Harvey Dent movie. You know, it's like Batman Returns. Batman Returns is more like a Catwoman Penguin story than it is a Batman story. Right? Agree? Disagree?
Agree.
I agree
bros.
with that.
I think that Affleck has the look, though. Like, he's got the gray suit. I've always wanted to see that on screen. Maybe that's just me. Was he great in Justice League? No.
I'll be honest. I'm going to give you no more than the look. I like the look. I think the execution... And again, I think we've said this before. I don't think the execution was necessarily his fault. It seemed like bad writing. I think, he delivered the terrible lines the best way he could. And, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just, because it's my first Batman, but, when I think of Batman, Michael Keaton.
I feel that. I get that.
Yeah.
That's not really much of a debate. That's literally just like, hey, who did you like?
Yeah, because, each one, each movie was done by a different director and different writers and stuff like that. So they all have, I think that, I like them all. My least two favorite was probably Val Kilmer and Clooney. The other three with, you had Tim Burton. I mean, Keaton was fantastic in that atmosphere and that setting, where you had the other guy, the Dark Knight. You know, it was made
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. It was made to be very dark, very very gritty. He was great in that. It was a good Batman.
You're right. They were good for their respective worlds.
Right. So being who's the best one. I mean, they were all good, but I think it all depended on who directed it, who how the writing was and everything else. I mean, Adam West. I loved Adam West. It was a different type. It was a different type of.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Right. I mean, that was. It was. I guess it was just the way it was made. But if I had to choose, my least favorite would be those two guys. But they all. I think Affleck was fantastic. Again, I agree with you, Zach. I think it was much better on his own than with the Justice League. I didn't like.
I think he's probably the best Bruce Wayne.
Agreed.
Bruce Wayne, though.
Who?
Affleck.
I'll be honest with you. I like the two least favorite. I think were the best Bruce Waynes. I think Val Kilmer
was a great. Yes, I like
Clooney were pretty good Bruce Waynes.
Interesting.
I didn't like Clooney. I just I don't know. He rubbed me the wrong way.
I feel like I can't actually discuss their roles because I can't watch those movies.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like I physically cannot get through them.
I can't get past the outfits. And those, there was just something wrong with them.
And I mean, we even had we were watching part of it when we did the show at the tattoo shop. They had it up on the screen.
Which one was that? That was the one with
Poison
Arnold,
Ivy,
right?
yeah. And it was just
that was Batman and Robin.
It was
that was the Clooney one.
Yeah, it just like it just moved too fast. It was very, I don't know. I'm not gonna say cartoony, but it was just the lighting was all off. I didn't like it.
That was by far the worst one.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Batman and Robin was as bad, but
no, that was bad.
But I mean, in comparison to that one, I feel like that one's definitely more tolerable to watch.
Batman Forever or Batman and Robin?
Batman Forever. I feel like they didn't completely, and again, jump the shark in that one like they did in Batman and Robin.
Okay.
Just gonna nod and shake my head here.
Zach is making an angry look. Angry look.
Not feeling it.
Well, that's why we're doing this.
Constipated look.
That's why we're doing this.
All right.
Okay.
Any closing thoughts on live action Batman?
At the end of the day, this all comes down to personal taste. What do we like out of these movies? What movies do we grow up with too? Because that plays a huge role in it.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any concrete best, but there's obviously the best to us. I mean, that goes for anything though.
Right.
So, end of day, everybody voted Michael Keaton. So, in this debate, Michael Keaton wins. The majority.
We'll give him that. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So, Michael Keaton wins this one. So, everyone except for Zach gets a win.
He gets
this feels
it
hits close to home.
He gets muted. He gets muted for 10 seconds.
Oh,
15.
Was this PTI?
All right, we want to move on to another one?
Yeah, someone pick.
Why don't you pick?
Oh, I just picked. Come on.
I'm going to go there. So the Star Trek versus Star Wars.
Oh,
That's
here
a
we
good
go.
one.
Now,
That's a good one.
I don't know why this is even on here, because we're PG-13, right? So Star Trek sucks. I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry to say. Star Trek sucks. There's no comparison there. Star Trek, I've watched Star Trek when it first came out, and I felt, even when I was a kid when it came out and you watched it, I felt bored of it. Nice, very nice. To me, it was boring. It was very boring. It was, and even still to this day, I can't get any enjoyment out of.
I've
Star
watched
Trek.
a little bit of each series, and I just can't. I completely agree. I don't know what it is.
It's the same thing. I mean, they keep traveling to go boldly where no man's gone before. But where are you going?
It's like Walking Dead, the constant walking.
Right.
It's exploration, man.
But what are they actually exploring? Like what? What?
To seek out new life and new civilizations.
Oh, Jesus.
To boldly go where no one's gone before.
But there
So
are
I
people.
think there's
Find
a
new
simple.
places, find new women, sleep with them.
to go to the outer rim.
Captain Kirk would do, not what I would do.
What's that, Tease?
So I think there's a simple explanation for this. It seems that you and Matt are the kind of dog chasing the bone fans, or the ball, where you just like the action and excitement. And I feel like Star Trek's a little bit more of an intellectual program.
No.
Because I generally hate the action sequences in movies. I think they're very boring. I prefer exposition and stuff. So I'm actually surprised I don't like Star Trek.
Well, I'll give it to you this way. I think I'm a big fan of both, and I'm going to be hard-pressed to pick one. But so Star Wars has great storyline. I mean, in my opinion, Star Wars has, 9 movies at this point?
We're talking about 3, right?
What's that?
9? We're talking about 3 of the 9 movies here?
But I'm saying, no, Star Wars as a whole. I'm counting, we're counting all of Star Wars, all of Star Trek. Star Wars has about 9 movies in the saga, not including, like, the add-ons.
Okay.
I think only about 4 of those were good. Star Trek.
Hold on, what's your 4th that's good?
The Force Awakens.
Interesting, okay.
Mm.
Ooh, I'm putting that on the list.
Yeah. I don't think any of the prequels were good, and I don't think Last Jedi was good. So
we've done this before, though,
and we'll get into the whys of that soon. But there's so much content with Star Trek. I mean, like I said, the early stuff was so cheesy, but I mean, it set the stage. I mean, I don't think there could be a Star Wars without a Star Trek.
I agree with that.
I mean, there was definitely. I mean, I'm sure he borrowed ideas. George Lucas borrowed ideas from Roddenberry's stuff, and you know what? I'm going to go out there and say I think the Next Generation might not just be the best Star Trek series that they've done, but might be one of the best television series ever done.
Are we talking movies or series? Because they're two different things.
I'm talking everything. Oh,
as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, this is. Well, it's a. Go ahead.
Star Wars right now is just movies. So I'm comparing the movies, Star Trek movies, to Star Wars.
All right. What if we're comparing everything?
If we're
I'm
comparing
talking the worlds.
JJ here likes. I like some of the TV shows. Like I love Picard. I thought he was fantastic. I like the TV shows. I thought they were a lot more better than the movies.
I think they were more better too.
Except DS9.
Yes, I have to agree with that.
Yeah, the movies weren't great. I mean, in comparison, the television was a lot better, in my opinion. Some of the movies were good. I mean, I enjoy quite a few of them.
My most favorite one is the one where they went back in time. I can watch that over and over again without a problem. Anything else?
Quest Home?
Yeah, is that what it is? Yeah.
I think so.
The Voyage Home.
The Voyage Home.
Voyage Home.
Yeah. It was Quest for Spock. I was combining 2 movies.
The Search for Spock.
But now, if we're talking,
I went on a quest in that movie.
Well, there was the Next Generation. They went back in time too with the Borg.
First Contact.
Yeah, that was actually a really good one.
That was a good one too. Okay.
So, I guess both of them were pretty awesome.
Both of what?
So I think
the movies with them going back in time. The Next Generation and the original.
Okay. But as a whole, like...
All right, as a world. So if we're talking TV, movie, everything Star Trek, TV, movie, everything Star Wars.
I'm Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is apples and oranges.
It really is apple and oranges. It's not even the same thing. It's tough because...
You want to compare Stargate to Star Trek, or you want to compare Babylon 5 to Star Trek? We can do that. But I don't think you can really compare Star Trek to Star Wars because they're completely different franchises. Star Trek has its roots in the 60s and was a series of TV series. And they're not, like, the Star Wars movies are essentially war movies, right? When they're done best?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Apples and oranges.
That's why I was
One's about exploration, one's about warfare.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of elements of warfare that come into Star Trek too.
True. And I think they're silly.
I don't know. I think some of them are pretty good. I think some of the best stuff they did was, when they're facing off against the Cardassians or the Borg, or when they got to the point where they're facing those other guys. I mean, I Deep Space Nine was definitely not my favorite. I mean, I enjoyed it more when Worf joined, but I mean, listen, it's hard for me to choose. I mean, those other shows that you brought up aren't even in the same realm of Star Trek and Star Wars, so I think it's hard to. You can compare those to those.
When were the
Think about the number of series Stargate has. It's got the original Stargate movie, then you've got Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis. But again, I think there was a third series that they did.
Yeah, but think about how many series Sci-Fi does of anything. Because does Sci-Fi really matter as a television channel? How many times did they change their name to confuse you about what channel you were watching?
Well, they really stopped being a Sci-Fi channel and just rebranded themselves, so it wouldn't be.
I mean,
there's Sci-Fi.
Nerdy.
You can open up a whole a whole can of worms here, because I mean, if you're going to compare the TV shows with the movies, I mean, you're going to add Farscape, you're going to add what is that, Serenity?
Oh, Farscape was fun.
Farscape. I mean, I loved Farscape, but what's the other one? The Firefly. I mean, you're going to open up a whole can of worms.
Battlestar Galactica.
Thank you.
Battlestar Galactica. So,
don't think they were on the same level.
Yes and no, I think.
Do they have their own conventions?
Probably.
Probably.
Everything is a convention.
Sopranos has a convention. I don't know if you guys have heard about this.
Nope.
I heard it got canceled right before it went on.
Did it?
I got nothing. I'm sorry. So, for a reference, I didn't actually watch the show.
So going back to the beginning, to the front of this, Star Trek versus Star Wars. Movie-wise, I'm going to stick with Star Wars.
I don't think you can judge the movies for Star Trek without the TV shows.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
I don't think you can judge it on it. Whereas I think the Star Wars TV show, I'm looking at you, Clone Wars, makes the movies better as a result.
Absolutely.
I agree.
100% agree.
Right?
100%.
I think that, property-wise, yeah, there's more money in Star Wars. I think there's a more diehard fan base in Star Wars. But, I don't know, the room for growth is just so good. No one balked everyone balks every single time they end the series and start a new crew. But, right, I was going to say nobody does that, but they do. I don't know. I don't know what point I was getting at.
It's all good.
This is a poor argument on my half.
I think if we were talking just the original trilogy, I don't think anything compares to episode 4, 5, and 6. When you judge them all as a whole, I feel like the entire body of work that Star Trek has done a little bit better. And again, they're not as popular and they're not as profitable, but I think they've been more consistent with the product that they've put out.
I was about to say consistency.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do a crazy thing, which I didn't even think when I started this that I was gonna pick this, but I'm gonna pick Star Trek.
Wow.
I'm surprised myself.
Okay.
Well, I debated myself into picking Star Trek.
And here comes a 15-second mute.
You don't get to talk about Hayden now.
So did anybody else pick Star Trek?
I think Zach does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Bruce?
So currently we have a tiebreaker, right?
Oh, jeez.
You're the tiebreaker.
I'm the tiebreaker.
Say Firefly. Throw us all off.
I'm edging ever so slightly to Star Trek over Star Wars.
Ooh.
Simply because there was more of it to feed your need for the Star Trek universe. Just for that fact alone.
So in terms of volume that they put out.
Yes. I mean, granted, not all of it was great. I mean, I never got into Deep Space Nine. Never got into Enterprise. Discovery, I haven't even watched any of it.
So do you mean that there's essentially there's more good Star Trek out there than there is good Star Wars?
Yes, but simply because the volume of the Star Trek content is 100 times more than Star Wars.
Okay.
I think it's all tone. It's uplifting. It's hopeful.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a utopian view of what the future can be, and how often do you see futures where things are actually good?
That's true.
I mean,
true.
I think it was the kind of thing that inspired people to make it. I mean, there was stuff they came up with in Star Trek that was like, hey, this is a crazy thing that may never happen. And it's like, hey, we've actually invented a lot of this stuff at this point, which is pretty cool. I will be more impressed when somebody creates a real lightsaber than Star Wars wins again.
There are guys on YouTube that have made versions of it.
Of a lightsaber?
I want one that I can carry
it's not
around.
quite.
I want the legit one. Don't come back to me when I can burn through my door with a light sword.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot my keys. It's all right. I'll just make a hole in the door.
I'm giving it to Star Wars.
You can't play it. You guys
don't let that go for more than 50. All right, moving on. So, should we move into our next topic?
Star Trek won that.
Anyway, yes.
So, I think that's a good segue into probably the best topic tonight, right?
Yes. Let's move to there.
Tess, would you like to take the reins on this one?
Yeah. So
Give it to him.
I just wrote Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker, and I guess it should be good or bad. Should be in there. So I'm going to go off on my rant if you just give me a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to go after you. I already called that spot.
And I think everything he did on screen was terrible. The fact that he and Jake Lloyd, who was essentially a 10-year-old, had very similar performances in the Star Trek movies was horrible. What's that?
Star Wars.
Star Trek. It's Star Wars.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because he also called one of the people from Star Trek the Kardashians. So I was wondering where Kim felt.
I said the
Kardashians.
Oh, it sounded like Kardashians.
It was very confusing when Keeping Up with the Kardashians came out, because I was like, are we going to keep up with Caldecott or what?
Oh gosh. Let me get back on point here. But yeah, so I thought about it a lot today because I knew this was going to be like my hot topic push button here. And it's just like, I remember watching, and not only was I uncomfortable every time I watched them on screen in the prequels, but if you notice the people acting in the scenes with them, I feel like they're almost cringing as much as I am. There was a lot of good acting done. Ewan McGregor, I mean, he's a fantastic Obi-Wan, and even the girl, her name is eluding me right now, Natalie Portman. I mean, fantastic as well. And for them to go out and like, why are you looking at me like that?
You're out of your mind, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
It's just like they're sitting there, and granted, they weren't great, but
I'm taking notes.
I mean, Ewan McGregor was very good, but Hayden Christensen is just like every scene he was in, every line he delivered. I mean, I've said this one multiple times, and I can't even watch the scene at this point. But when he comes back from like saving his mother, and he goes, "I killed them, all of them, but not just the men, but the women and the children." I was like, oh my God. This is awful. I've never been embarrassed to be in a Star Wars movie in my life. I was embarrassed to be in that movie. It was just deplorable. There's not a saving grace for me from him. There's not a single scene, a line that he does. It's just amateurish. And he should have never been casted in that movie.
Who do you think should have been casted for that?
I don't know. Maybe my dog?
Sophie would have done a great job.
I mean, she couldn't have delivered the lines worse.
Well, you bring up the problem with Hayden Christensen's roles, right? The dialogue.
May I?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
I mean, if Tess
Mr.
John.
TC.
I'm
You're done? Okay.
I'm done.
I do not think his performances were good at all. So we are in agreement there. He was very wooden. He was very cringy, especially in Attack of the Clones. I did not think he was bad in Revenge of the Sith. I did not think he was great in Revenge of the Sith, but he was not nearly as bad as he was in Attack of the Clones. Now, could that be due to his inexperience? Maybe. He was 19 when he was hired, had never acted before. Granted, so was Mark Hamill, and he was great, but that's besides the point. For me, it was the dialogue, the direction, and the writing that killed his performance. Almost entirely.
I mean,
I don't think anybody could have delivered those lines well.
Agreed.
You're wrong. Marlon Brando would have crushed them.
But you're talking about a seasoned actor.
And he wasn't. I mean, listen, there's plenty of young people who have done well. I mean, as bad as the lines were in, as we were talking before, like Ben Affleck's lines, I don't think he delivered them poorly. I think they were just bad lines. I mean, I think
really bad lines.
Regardless of what he was saying, it was his delivery, it was his body language, the whole movie.
I'm saying I'm saying he's not entirely to blame for this.
Oh, I mean, he's not entirely to blame. I mean, a lot of the lines were bad, but even the lines that were just like simple, it was just like just like making like weird faces and like.
But why aren't we blaming?
He seems uncomfortable and unsure of himself the whole time, which I mean shows to me. Clearly.
So why aren't we blaming George Lucas for not directing him properly then?
I mean, how much can George Lucas do at that point? I mean, I feel like George Lucas's focus for those movies were, I finally have the technology to make the vision I want to see, and I feel like he was probably less concerned about the acting.
I feel like that's the flaw.
He is the director.
Yes.
It is his job to oversee the way the actors are delivering their lines. The man wrote the damn script, right? So if he has to change anything, he's on scene, on location to change it so it's actually good.
100%.
All right?
I'm not saying he's not blameless. I agree that he takes a part of the blame, but I mean he should the biggest part of the blame is casting him in the first place.
No,
I don't think so.
Listen, Natalie Portman is not good in those movies.
She is awful in those movies.
She's not
absolutely awful.
She would look a lot worse. She would look a lot worse.
Award winner Natalie Portman to get a good performance out of her is proof enough. You know why Ewan McGregor was able to do a good Obi-Wan? Because there's already an Obi-Wan character. We already saw him. He had something to base his performance off of.
I don't even think of them as the same person. I think he made his own Obi-Wan.
I think he made the journey to where he needed to be happen.
I don't think we're even going to see him close to that until we see this Solo series of his. Not Solo the movie, Solo, the Obi-Wan series.
Yes.
I don't even think you get the same person. I'll be honest with you.
So you're telling me you think his performances in Episode 2 and Episode 3 are equally as bad?
Yes.
Wow.
I don't think there's any improvement there.
You're wrong.
I'm not.
Zach, what were you gonna say?
I'm the Star Trek guy coming to the Star Wars defense here. I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. The reason Star Trek, within the topic, that Star Trek wound up winning is because of these movies and partly his performance. I was the first person in line to go see Episode 1, and I was just like, that guy at the end with the horns was pretty cool. I was like, the next one will probably be a little better, and they were not. I mean, outside of him, I enjoyed them because they were Star Wars. I got lightsaber battles and Yoda and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just he single-handedly ruined those movies for me. Wow. JJ, I want to hear from you. You're the Star Wars aficionado.
Listen, I agree with what Zach said. I don't put the blame totally on Hayden. I think the way it was written for him, those cheeseball lines, Natalie got the same lines. I thought her lines were cheeseball. Like, Annie, you're breaking my heart. Like, that whole thing was just, I cringed there for that. I thought that was a cringy moment.
I mean, all their scenes together were cringeworthy.
But
it's a weird situation they put them in. He was 10 years old when we meet him, but she's like
she's older,
significantly older.
right?
Yeah.
16.
I don't think he's. It's unfortunate for him because Hayden took such a bad rap with this movie, and that's why he hasn't been casted in other things. I mean, I've seen him in other movies. I mean, Jumper, he was all right. It wasn't bad.
I saw that. He was not good.
It was all right. I'm not saying it was bad. I don't blame Hayden on the Star Wars side of it. I think it was.
If George Lucas wanted to, he could have gotten a good performance out of him, or at least better than what we got.
And if he was unhappy, he could have recasted him. I would think, right?
If you're putting that much movie, hundreds of millions of dollars into episode 2, and you think he's bad or he's not doing his job, then you could easily recast him. You have the money to. The fact that he didn't, and the fact that he didn't fix what was wrong, that's on him.
I'm not making it blameless to George Lucas. I mean, he's, if anything, we can say he's equally at fault. I mean, he went with this. Mm-hmm. The point I'm trying to make is so if you want to prove me wrong,
I'm not proving you wrong though, because I agree with you. I probably agree that you on the amount that he was awful in episode 2. I disagree with you on him being bad in episode 3.
And you got to understand too. Episode 2 was a lot different type of Star Wars movie that we've seen. So I mean, we were seeing space battles and laser sword fighting and blasters and everything else, and then all of a sudden here's this movie. It turned into this love story. If that's what you want to call it. It didn't
mesh well.
It didn't mesh well.
But you got that with Han and Leia and Empire.
But again, that's a totally different type of relationship. I mean, here they were focusing on two people trying to fall in love, one good, one goodish evil. It
was forced. In Empire,
yeah,
it didn't feel forced.
You definitely felt forced.
There was no chemistry.
Yeah, it would have felt forced though with anybody in those places saying those lines.
And you said
and having the same direction.
And you said the perfect word, Tess. You said chemistry. Han and Leia, awesome chemistry. Like perfect, on the spot. You saw it, you felt it, you lived it. The chemistry between Natalie and Hayden, it felt forced. It was like, they're trying to stick two people that are totally different. It was not natural at all.
Han and Leia were great.
Imagine. They did hook up in real life too, though.
Yeah.
True.
Hayden and Natalie.
Yeah, so did Han and Leia.
Yeah.
So did
Han, Luke and Han.
Nice.
Imagine Han and Leia saying those lines from episode 2. Would it have worked? Absolutely not.
No, it wouldn't have worked because, it was the way that the movie was directed and was shot. It was more forced as a love story.
But if you want to go back to this is also apples and oranges. It's not stuff Han would say. I think that you can get Carrie Fisher to say her lines better than she did. Harrison Ford, he's not a Jedi. I can't see him as in that role anyway. So to my point is there a good performance that you've seen from Hayden Christensen outside of this? So, yes, you want to blame George Lucas for his part, fine. But, is there a movie where someone else is directing him and he's doing a good job?
I haven't seen any.
The only other movie I've seen is Jumper, and he was just as terrible in that. And did George Lucas make that one? I honestly don't know.
Jim, do you agree Jumper was just as bad?
It was okay. It was... I try not to put those type of movies in a Star Wars frame.
And what I'm going to go back to you with is, so I think the reason he was a little bit more tolerable in the Revenge of the Sith is because he said less.
I'm actually looking at all the movies that he's made, Hayden's, and to be honest with you, I've probably seen 4 of them, 3 of them.
You can find them in the $10 DVD bins.
Yeah, it's too expensive.
At Costco.
Okay, Jumper's the only one that I've seen outside of Star Wars.
I think you can find it now in the dollar bin.
Yeah. Listen, one of the biggest, for me at least, I've analyzed this a lot. I think the biggest flaw with this is the character itself and the character that he wrote. Because what's that?
I said probably.
Listen, the whole idea of the prequels was, that whole thing that Yoda says in the beginning, fear is the path to the dark side. We see an Anakin, the Anakin that he gave us, is scared, is whiny, is troubled, and is intolerable because of that. but that's like the way the character was written, and that's like a lot of the same complaints that people have about Kylo Ren. You know.
True.
I don't think Kylo Ren is nearly as terrible as he is.
I'm not talking about in terms of acting. I'm talking about in like terms of the character like that.
The character's personality.
Yes.
I did have some cringy moments with Kylo Ren, though. I mean, he did have some cringy moments, the way he spoke and how and some of his lines. So it was.
I feel like the thing they did with that though that made it better is they kind of made it a little bit light of it.
Right.
Like they made jokes out of it.
Yeah, like the scene where he's like having a hissy fit. Like you see the stormtroopers walk and then like kind of slowly walk back and go the other way.
Right.
I was like, that's actually pretty funny.
Right.
Which you don't really get a lot of moments like that in the Star Wars universe outside of like Han Solo cracking jokes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
because in episodes 2 and 3, George was trying to make them serious and like very heavy, and it just kind of didn't work.
What were you going to say, Jim?
And unfortunately, we in the first three, the original three, we got to see Darth Vader, how vicious he was, and how he progressed in the first three, and then we see this in the prequels. We see this whiny kid who has terrible lines, who's going to be Darth Vader. I mean, it did put a bad taste in my mouth on how Darth Vader was before he was Darth Vader. If that makes any sense at all.
And the problem was with me is that I feel like he kind of ruined Darth Vader for me. It's just like I don't see. There's no way I can believe that those two people are the same person.
Right.
Like even towards the end where he's burned half to death, he's still whining. Like I can't get whininess from Darth Vader.
I like it because it gives humanity.
But it was also more. I think he was more human than in the end of that than where he became in the original. Because I mean, he did get upgrades, firmware.
Yeah, I mean, he was mostly robotic, but I mean, I think that was more life support.
Could be.
All right. All right. So we want to take an official vote here. Hayden, good or bad? I'm going with bad.
I think we can all agree he's not good.
I'm 100% going to say bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like we're in agreement there.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
But episode 3 is still one of my favorite movies.
I mean, it can still be one of your favorite movies. I mean, Roadhouse is one of my favorite movies, and it's not going to win the Academy Award. Highlander is one of my favorite movies. I don't think it's in the
ruins
category. What's that?
He ruins it for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, I feel good.
Good stuff. That was pretty cool. That's pretty good.
That was good. All right, what's
Let's
next?
do another one. Somebody else talk about it.
TC, you want to pick?
Let's do best comic book villain.
Ooh.
Best comic book villain.
I don't want to be boring, but
Now, is this across the board on everything? So the number one best comic book villain from any publisher?
yeah. I mean, or do we want to do the big two?
I think let's stick to the big two. This way, it doesn't widen it too much, and Zach doesn't bring up a character we've never heard of.
I shouldn't talk about the Viltrumites from Invincible.
Exactly.
Okay.
The big bad. Like, who's the best big bad? I guess our favorite big bad. So this is the only one where we could all potentially have a different one.
It could be.
No, we're all going to pick the same guy.
Who's going to go first? Who's going to go? Bruce, you go. Bruce, you go first.
Yeah, Bruce, go first.
Want me to go first? Okay.
DC side. Let's start with DC.
Ooh, we can do this.
No. It should be across both.
Oh, really?
You pick one across all.
Oh,
DC.
one across both. Okay.
That's tough.
Yeah, that is kind of tough. I'm probably gonna have to go, and you probably already know what I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna have to go with my girl Harley Quinn.
I was surprised by that.
Simply because she's bad, but then she's also sort of good. She's kind of like the sort of like the anti-hero, anti-villain. It's I don't know. I just can't. I just can't quite explain it. Out of all the DC titles that I'm currently reading, I still enjoy her title the most. And now they're kind of turning her into more of a hero, but in the earlier ones when she was still mischievous and causing trouble, but still kind of saving the day at the end, it was, it just kind of, it just made me enjoy her character that much more.
Okay.
That's an interesting choice.
It's funny. I think she was so popular of a villain that they had to make her a hero. I think that's what's starting to happen a lot, which is kind of unfortunate with the villains that are so popular that they're just basically becoming heroes or anti-heroes.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even the little mini series Poison Ivy, is like she's a villain. She doesn't really have any heroism in her or anything like that, but that mini series kind of started turning her into the anti-hero, just like her part-time fling Harley there. But
yeah,
I
think that's an interesting point you bring up with Harley Quinn, because I feel like she's not she doesn't get as much exposure as some of the other characters like Harley Quinn, and I feel like she's just like a fantastic and interesting character, and I'm actually excited to read a story anytime she's in it. I agree with you. There was a decent amount of like pretty good depth at in that story of hers. I feel like they let you down a little bit with the ending for that Poison Ivy miniseries. I think it was like a 6-parter, right?
Yeah, it was either 4 or 6.
Yeah, I feel like by like the last 2 issues, it kind of like went in a different direction.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Mm-hmm. I haven't read a ton of stuff with Harley in it, honestly. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I have besides like Hush, that kind of stuff.
Honestly, Matt, if the early Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner stuff is actually really good.
When did those come out?
They started in like 2013.
That was the new
like
50, that was the new 52 stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the new 52 series.
Which I loved. I loved that series. That was a good series.
All right, cool. I'll check that out.
She still hasn't kind of like reached the level of like Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. I don't think she's like reached that point. She's still more of like the more like the secondary tier of like villain / hero characters. It's like, I mean, she has elevated from the early things where she would just occasionally pop in. She would be in a couple of issues with the Joker and stuff like that, but she's slowly climbing the ladder. Will she ever like actually reach the top? I don't think so. I think she'll always be sort of relegated to that sidekick title, but yeah, I think she's definitely grown over the years.
It's funny you say that, because I actually think before the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman came out, she was probably the most popular DC character, female, yeah. Most popular DC female. Yeah. I think Gal Gadot has kind of, pushed Wonder Woman back up there, but before that, I think Harley Quinn was like rocking the most popular female character for the DC universe, at least. Let's get an answer from Bojo here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna comment on the Harley Quinn thing. I think we're at saturation point for her at the moment. I think she's at the top already, and I think you can see that by the fact that she's had 3 very long-running, very successful, like ongoing series on her own, whereas Joker's had a single one from like the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Hey, but he's getting like a 3-parter soon.
What's that?
Isn't he getting like a 3-parter soon?
I don't know. There's one that's the series with her, with Harley Quinn and Joker. There's a Black Label one, and I think there's a Black Label one where it's just him. And I think that's Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino doing it, but I don't actually know the details on it. I just know that when it comes out, I'm going to snag it. Sorry.
But I think there's another Joker miniseries planned.
Maybe. I mean, the knee-jerk reaction when you say, like, greatest villain, like, of the big two, the knee-jerk reaction for me is Joker.
Yeah.
I agree.
What I expected.
Yeah, pretty much. But, I mean, like, what are we talking about when we talk about villains? I think sometimes you can have two schools of thought on this, right? The best villains are ones that you can relate to, that are the heroes of their own story, and yada 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 yada, and you can almost relate to them, like Killmonger in Black Panther. He's a great villain, right? Because he's relatable, and you understand where he's coming from. You almost sympathize with him, right?
Like Thanos in Avengers.
Bingo.
Yep.
Thanos is the hero in that movie.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I don't know why they changed anything.
Protagonist in the movie. He's the hero of that movie, and we saw him win. I just think that the other school of thought is just like, who is just a bad guy?
Lex Luthor.
Have you ever
Not
read?
your turn yet.
Have you ever read Lex Luthor, Man of Steel?
I haven't, no.
Yes.
Okay. Lex Luthor, Man of Steel thoroughly explains why Luthor is the way he is. And that he turns him from being a character where he's all bad and like, oh, yeah, no, I totally get where he's coming from. I get it. I just think that there's no, like, you're talking about body count, you're talking about all that jazz, like, there's no touching the Joker.
I agree. I was going to say Joker. Like, that's why I said it was kind of boring, because I feel like most people would pick Joker, but that's for good reason, I think.
You guys aren't going to go with Spidey villains because Batman's got really good rogues, but Spidey's like rogues galleries right there.
Are we talking favorite though?
Are we talking favorite? Or are we talking like greatest?
Greatest.
What is the wording on this question?
It's greatest. The greatest villain.
Greatest. I would say Joker, honestly.
Yeah.
I'd agree with you on that one.
It's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's good.
He's probably my favorite too.
He's also well known too. I mean, when you think of villains in any comic book, I mean, he should be the top 2, I would think. I mean, trying to think of another person that would, besides people watching movies, if you're just strictly reading comic books, I mean, he should be number 1 actually, if you think about it.
There's a reason everyone wants to do a story with him when they get to take on the title. Mm-hmm. Like, every big, long run of Batman has a Joker story.
Yep.
Yeah.
A runner-up for me personally would be Green Goblin. Just as a personal favorite.
I get really frustrated with him. I really can't argue against the Joker one at all. I'm going to bring in one that I really like, even though I don't know much about him. But I feel like the Green Goblin just gets, like, kind of exhausting. It's just, you get the same thing over and over with him.
I guess because I haven't read the entirety of Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess that's a personal cross I have to bear.
Yeah. No, but for real, because I could totally see that from your point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny.
I mean, I definitely, like, in terms of the story, like, if we'll just stick on Spider-Man for now, I like his interaction with Doc Ock so much better. I mean, that Superior Spider-Man was probably one of the best stories Spider-Man's ever had, bar none. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I definitely enjoy Venom more, like the early interactions with him in Venom, than I do the stuff with him in Green Goblin. Like, Norman Osborn is just like, he's a poor man's Joker, really. He's like trying to meld like the Joker with Lex Luthor.
Okay.
Interesting.
JJ, what do you think? What would you say?
I mean, I'm gonna I'll go with the Joker as the top.
That wasn't my pick, though.
Yeah.
What's your pick?
Victor Von Doom.
That was a runner-up for me, honestly.
It's funny that you say that, Tess, because I just did a Google comic book villains, and I'm going to tell you the top 5. The top 5 that they've got: number 1 is the Joker, number 2 is Magneto, Number 3 is Lex Luthor. Number 4 is Doctor Doom, and then you got Thanos.
That's a good list.
I don't know much about. That's not true. I haven't. I've read a decent amount with Doctor Doom in it, and he's just. I don't know. He just the coolness of his look, like kind of the superiority. Again, he's almost like you were saying with the guys, where he kind of doesn't see himself as the villain,
right?
Which is kind of what I like about him. He's the head of a nation, and he's kind of like doing things the way he thinks the world should be. To shape the way the world he thinks it should be. I mean, he's not really looking to like kill everyone. I mean, he's looking to kill some people. He hates Reed Richards, but it's like, who doesn't? Like, I can get on board with that.
And that goes.
Reed Richards is awful.
And that goes for me. Like I'm gonna add another one to this because I love him. But Two-Face, same thing. I mean, he doesn't kill a lot of people. I mean, he's got he's got his good side and his bad side. I like Two-Face. I mean, to be able to just flip a coin and see if you live or die. Good stuff.
Two-Face is a good one. And his motives behind it are very deep too.
Right.
So.
Right. That's a good one. I like this one.
Yes. Do we all answer?
Yeah, I think we all did.
I think so. I mean, Joker's just so good. I mean, like, anytime he's in a storyline, and that's another thing where you said saturation of Harley Quinn before. I feel like what you were saying, because every writer wants to write a Joker story, you almost get an oversaturation of him, which, I mean, kind of takes away from like his greatness as a story, as being part of a story.
I can see that.
Yeah, but we're getting different versions of him, which makes it kind of interesting. I mean,
I think they kind of have to do that now.
Right. I mean, that's what we're getting now with the movies. I mean, you've got everything now from this, Joaquin Phoenix to where we had the Jay Leto. I mean, two completely different Jokers. I don't know how much you can saturate that, but it's nice to see the difference of it.
I like the different takes on it. I really do. Yeah. Like, so far, every on-screen Joker has been completely different.
Because honestly, you can't really do that with other villains. I mean, you can't. I mean, think about that. I mean, is there another villain that
you can only take it as far with another villain?
Right. I mean,
whereas with the Joker, there's so many different interpretations of it, just even from the comic books.
Lex Luthor, you can make him a good guy. I don't know.
They've done that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, they've made Joker a good guy now too.
That's true.
Jack Napier.
True.
For anyone who's read White Knight.
Yeah. Crazy. All right, cool. That's cool.
All right, moving on.
All right, let's do our last one.
One more.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is kind of in the same realm, right?
What are we doing?
Marvel versus DC.
Oh, come on.
I'll
start.
Matt, why don't you start with this one?
Matt, you go for it. Yeah, go ahead. Anytime.
It's really tough.
He wants to say one thing, but he doesn't want to disappoint me. I get it.
All right, if we're going completely overall.
All right, you know what? Let's make this easier and just say the comic books, because
just
DC
the comics
hasn't even come close to touching Marvel's in terms of motion pictures.
Yeah, don't leave movies out of this.
Did you see Suicide Squad? I mean, that was a really good movie.
Leave movies out of this.
I thought
this is strictly comic books.
Send me another picture. I don't want to hear you talk.
All right, strictly comic books.
Strictly comic books.
I've read pretty much an equal amount of both, I would say. I'm gonna say Marvel.
It's okay to be wrong.
Give us a reason.
I have, at least I feel. I mean, I've read probably like nowhere near what a lot of other people have, so I'm sure there's a lot of great stuff that I missed. But I've read a lot of DC. I've read a lot of Marvel. I have just gotten more consistently good things that I've read out of Marvel. Yeah, I feel like it's overall more consistently good, even though Batman is my favorite.
Okay. So that's a pretty real question. That would answer. Good.
Zach, how about you finish this one out? I'm just going to go next, and then we'll rotate around.
Oh, so you want me to make the rebuttal for DC, and then you're going to crush me with the final Marvel rebuttal?
No, I'm not going. I said you're going to go last, so I'm going to go next.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
So I think they go up and down a lot. I think right now the DC stories are much stronger than the Marvel stories. I think when I first got into this reading in like 2013, I think Marvel had the upper hand. I think they both do a good. Both DC and Marvel have really good stories. I think that DC has more great stories, though. And not to say that Marvel doesn't have any great stories. I think DC has more great stories. And, I mean, granted, they've been around for 60 more years, but, I mean, I'm not talking about the stuff from the 30s.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to agree with you there. But in terms of my interest in comic book characters, I am interested in way more Marvel characters than I am DC characters.
Yeah, I mean, the point is, I think a lot of the great characters, I mean, the great stories, have come from the same characters in the DC universe, and it's more spread out for sure on the Marvel side.
Okay.
Like, I mean, most of these great DC stories, let's be honest, they're coming from Batman. They're coming from, I mean, a few Supermans. I mean...
it's mostly Batman, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, Batman has really great stories. I've said it before, Superman's my favorite character, but I think Batman's probably the best comic book read overall.
Overall, I mean, there's been other good stories, but not in that realm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the right word.
So, Jim, why don't you take it next? So my official vote is DC.
I'm a DC fan. I've always been a DC fan. I do read some. I mean, really, the only Marvel books I read is the Star Wars. I mean, I love the Star Wars books, but I'm still 100% devoted DC.
I agree with you guys about the current books, though.
No, yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to debate that at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, TC talking about the Batman. I mean, Batman's the runs are fantastic. I love the Batman stories. There have been other great stories. I mean, the Talon. That was a fantastic run. I like the All-Star Westerns. I thought those were fantastic. So yeah, I'm a DC guy. Even though yes, I'm probably the only Aquaman fan on the planet.
That's impossible. There's got to be at least one more.
So yeah, that's my vote.
Mr. Zach.
We get a DM on this? DM.
You want to go last?
Yeah, let Zach finish it out.
Zach is going to finish. All right. I can't say that I have read too many Marvel comics, except for all the Star Wars ones that are coming out and stuff. So I'm definitely more on the DC side, but Marvel does have one or two. The Incredible Hulk. Especially the first volume, which I'm religiously collecting, and the
number one.
Yeah, right. Maybe on my deathbed, I'll take my last. I don't even know what it is at value now, $500,000 to buy it. But besides that, the other one is the Miles Morales Spider-Man. Loving that story. Maybe because I got in on it from the very start, and unlike Tess, who's reading every single Amazing Spider-Man there is, but yeah, I gotta agree. DC has much better stories, and so yeah, for me, DC is getting my vote.
We'll wrap it up.
You guys are swaying me.
All right.
But I'm gonna stand my ground.
No, do it. I think that looking at the grand scheme of things, there are two companies that are competing with each other. Mm-hmm. So when times are good, they're usually good for one raises the what do they call that? What's that saying?
Rise out of the ashes.
Rising tide raises all ships.
Oh,
right. So when one company's doing well, the other company has to outperform it or rise to the occasion. I think that the best comics that I read were when the market was in a slump. So like early 2000s, mid 2000s, when they were both like desperately trying to compete with each other to like make sales. Like, this is the best time to read.
Because they were both.
Why there are so many good stories from DC? Because DC is iconic. The characters are icons. Their stories are timeless. Even when the technology changes and what they're doing is different, and the Batman's like, bat computer in the Batcave is gigantic and it's got a big tube like behind it, like that small stuff. Like, yeah, it looks a little dated, but like Marvel is the world outside your window.
The modern,
The references they make are so painfully outdated within 5 years. So I think that's like why you have so many better, long-standing stories from DC that just kind of stand the test of time.
What are you trying to say? Your aunt doesn't make you wheat cakes every morning?
Dude, I lost my mind when I read that
and
the first
wheat
time.
cakes.
I'm gonna agree with you there because I very much enjoy reading older DC from like the 40s than I do the Amazing Spider-Mans from the 60s.
Yeah, they're dated. Everyone's got that hip lingo. You jive turkey.
And I felt like
Well, you can't say that.
What's that?
You can't say that.
I can't.
Did you just call me a jive turkey?
I did.
Have you seen Tropic Thunder? Not Tropic Thunder.
No, you're right.
What's the basketball one? No, it's the basketball one with Will Ferrell. That wasn't Tropic Thunder. That was
Semi-Pro. I haven't seen that.
That was Semi-Pro. Yeah. Oh, you better watch that. You won't call anybody a jive turkey again.
Oh, let's keep saying that. Let's keep saying it. I will agree with you. Like the Spider-Mans from the 60s and 70s, they were just so much dialogue.
Tess knows I've been trying to get through the first like 10 issues for the last year, and I can't.
They were hard to read until the 70s. I'm not going to lie.
That dials actually back and touches on what I was talking about. Like, Spider-Man comics were completely different in the 60s than what Batman was doing in the 60s. Like, Spider-Man was trying to do things that reflected the world outside. The characters were flawed and more relatable, and I think in that regard, the Marvel characters are, in some regards, better, where you can just more easily relate to them. The Batman stuff in the 60s was just, like, goofy.
Yeah.
Is that when the rainbow suits came out?
That was like early 60s, man. That was like when Marvel was putting out Fantastic Four.
Stuff, right?
Like, we had Zebra Batman.
Yes.
That was like in response to like a lot of the McCarthyism and stuff that was still kind of going on too, though, right?
They were afraid to do anything.
People were burning comic books.
Yeah. It was only when like the New Look books came out, so that was like around 64, 65, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I like what you said though about like the iconic thing, because it's just like I feel like when you think of striving to be a superhero, like you always think of like, the Batman, Superman. I mean, even like Captain America comes into the mix, but again, this is a guy who's been around since like the 40s before. I mean, Marvel kind of adopted him. He's pre-Marvel himself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like kind of like they're more than just their characters. They're kind of bigger than their characters if you think about it.
Which is one of the things I'll say that Zack Snyder got right, is he called them mythological characters. He called them the new new gods, new myths. He got that right about the DC characters.
All right.
Everybody, even a broken clock is very nice.
Yeah.
All right, I think that was a good one. I think so. We have some we didn't get to this time.
We should do part two.
We will do a part two.
I think we should do. I mean, this could even be like something we do every once in a while.
Yeah,
honestly, we should.
I'm really excited to discuss Darth Jar Jar.
Maybe we could do like one or two topics at the end of a couple episodes or something.
Yeah, that might be an interesting segment. Hopefully, people enjoyed this. Shoot us your thoughts. If you agree one way or the other, we definitely want to hear.
Or even
it's okay to be wrong.
Or if you got something we want to add to this list, we want to debate. Let's ask us.
Send us your debate.
Absolutely.
Rated superheroes of the early 1990s: Darkman, The Shadow. Let's go.
Yes.
There you go. All right. So how are we closing this up? So, Matt,
let's talk about what we've been reading and watching.
Okay. You want me to go first?
Sure.
Yes.
All right, JJ's going first here. So what I'm watching. So I watched Titans last night, and boy, was that fantastic. I won't go into spoilers, but I'm very excited about this season. I felt TC and I we chatted a little bit about this on the train, but they probably could have taken this episode and used it as the season finale for last year. But again, it was still a fantastic episode. I'm excited to see where this goes. So that's that. What I'm reading, still Star Wars. Star Wars comes out again tomorrow because we're recording this. When you hear this, it's recorded at the beginning of the week. I am reading, again, still reading Planet Hulk because we're going to be doing the book club. And the book club is Planet Hulk this month.
Yes.
So I'm on it. I'm only maybe 2 or 3 issues into it. So it's going.
I'm gonna read that as it gets closer, so it's fresh in my mind.
I probably read it 2 or 3 times, but I wanted to get a beat on it because I'm actually excited to read this. And then what else am I reading? I just finished reading. I like this.
Are you reading any of those DC things you bought for really cheap?
Not yet. I want to because these are big big books, and I know we want to save some of these for maybe our book club.
New Frontier.
Yeah, I bought. So it was. I don't know if Jack, if you knew this or not, but I bought DC during Labor Day weekend. They did a big sale, 88% off of graphic novels. So I paid like $5 for these. But I bought New Frontier, Kingdom Come, Infinite Crisis on Infinite Earth. I'm sorry, Crisis on Infinite Earth, Superman: The Red Sun, and I bought the Wonder Woman Earth 1 Volume 2 because I read Volume 1. So these were all $5. I mean, you couldn't go wrong. But what I did start... What?
You got some good ones in there.
Yeah, I mean, Matt helped me out on this. But what I was really surprised about was the Superman Year 1. I know Book 2 came out, I think, was it last week?
Oh, the Frank Miller book.
The Frank Miller book, yeah, on the DC Black Label. It took me a while to get through issue 1 when that first came out. It took me a little longer to read it because I just felt like it was a little weird. But I liked issue 2. It was more of,
he was in the Navy, right?
He was in the Navy, going to. Yeah. It wasn't. I don't even know if they called it SEAL Bud School, but he's going through his SEALs, and now he's kind of hooking up with a mermaid, which is kind of interesting. So.
It's Neptune's daughter.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Neptune? No, it's Poseidon.
Poseidon, you're
Poseidon's
right.
daughter.
Apologies.
So
I read that too. It's actually pretty interesting.
It's interesting. I don't even. Are they going to continue with this? How long are they going to continue with this? I don't know. Curious.
I'm not sure how many issues that's supposed to be.
But I'm digging it. But that's what I'm reading. Next.
DM, you want to go next, DM?
Yeah, sure. I'll go next. What I'm currently watching, not really watching anything relevant on Netflix or the regular network television, but what I have been watching on YouTube on the Caffeine channel, Wednesday nights they do a live stream, the Dungeon Run. It's actually pretty entertaining. They play D&D and they record it Wednesday nights. Average about 3 to 4 hours per episode.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty elaborate, and it's actually quite entertaining because they actually do role play their characters a little bit, and then they throw in some outside of the D&D world type stuff. There was like some Star Wars references on one of the episodes recently, so it's pretty fun to watch, and what I'm reading, besides my current titles, that I've been collecting for the longest time, I'm rereading back in '88. I guess I believe DC and TSR teamed up, and they came out with comic run Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and Jim remembers this because he picked up a couple of the first issues. Pretty good stories by Michael, I believe Michael Fleischer. But yeah, I was digging through my boxes and I found these, so I started rereading them. And it's actually kind of cool.
Nice.
And that's it.
Cool.
Awesome. Hey, Mr. Zach, what have you been reading?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing? Wow.
Absolutely nothing. School started like 2 weeks ago, and I have not had time, so I have enjoyed nothing in my life.
Well, I'm happy you made time for us tonight.
Textbooks. He's reading textbooks.
Yeah, I guess a little bit of that. And I've been watching YouTube videos. It's like, I've been doing nothing. I've just been working.
Nice.
I can't wait for it to be like November, as insane as that sounds.
Yeah, he'll come fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I've been only thing I've been watching. I've been crushing through Downton Abbey. Still, which is, I love how sassy.
I can't believe you
the movie's coming out.
Dude, I know it's real good. Maggie Smith is so sassy. But
I mean, Happy Hogan was a big fan.
Yeah. Reading though, I was actually today, before I was so rudely interrupted by a work emergency, I was reading the first 2 issues of the Eternals for the first time. Because I was kind of sick of not knowing what the hell they were. Like, I had no idea. Even when the movie was announced, I was like, I've never read the Eternals. I don't know what this is about. So I gave the original series a shot. I'm like 4 issues in now. I really like it. It's so interesting.
I guess it's a good idea to read that before the movie.
Yeah.
This is not the show that was going to be coming out, that's not coming out, that's coming out, that's not coming out, that's done now, right?
That's in
No,
Humans.
it's the movie, Jim.
What was... Okay.
Are you talking about Inhumans?
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. Different.
Yeah. No, Eternals, the Jack Kirby series.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm really liking it. I'm excited to finish it.
Okay.
All right.
I just wanted to add that the Dowager Countess is awesome in Downton Abbey. So.
Did you watch the entire thing?
No, we watched the first 2 seasons, and we stopped just shy of someone dying.
There's other podcasts for those. There's another podcast for that.
What?
There's other podcasts for that. It's called the Old Ladies Club.
All right. Let me finish it out so we keep this in a timely fashion. So I'm currently finishing last season of Arrow. I don't know why I'm torturing myself, but I'm a completist, so I need to watch these. So I finally downloaded them on Netflix, so I've been crushing through that. I'm going to try to catch up on everything before the new stuff starts. I don't know if it's going to happen. And I'm still reading all the X-Men stuff.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know. 94. Some of it's really good. I'm a little behind. The only thing that I really enjoyed reading most recently was actually a DC story, surprisingly, Batman. So Batman Curse of the White Knight. It's kind of a continuation of the of Sean Gordon Murphy's series. So I just read the second one. That's current pretty much at this point, right? Book 2?
Yeah.
Is that as far as they've come?
It is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far as much as I enjoyed the first part, Batman. What was it? Was it just White Knight, right?
Yeah, Batman White Knight.
Yeah, so I really enjoy the story. It was recently announced, not in continuity though. This story.
I mean, yeah,
it's fine, but yeah,
it kind of it's like an animated series spinoff.
It's the best Batman story I probably read from after the 90s.
Okay.
But yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Good stuff, guys.
Anybody have announcements before we check off?
No announcements. No.
No, I think we're good for now. Yeah. Book club end of the month.
Book club. Thing. So we're
Planet Hulk. Read it now.
When are we doing the book club?
You want to put me on the spot here?
Yeah, man.
It's September 27th.
There we go.
Oh, he knows because he's not available that day.
September 27th. It'll be about around the same time, 8:30. We'll announce that on social medias and places like that.
Yep.
Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and interact with us.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's Planet Hulk.
We'll let you know again all the places it'll be available as well. It's Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live, I believe.
Yep.
All right.
Good stuff.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Until next time, remember...
Don't be the geeks!